Welcome to the 26th Jackie's Proof Animals Have Souls and Psychics show, produced through Passionate World Talk Radio, a subsidiary of Global Media Network. My website is www.jackiejones.com. If you've listened to my show before, you will know I'm a psychical researcher, historian of spirituality, lecturer and decades-long vegetarian for compassionate reasons, and author of 3 books, Proof Animals Have Souls, 500 plus celebrities go vegetarian, and Moses and Jesus the Shamans. Whilst Moses and Jesus the Shamans, mediums, is encyclopaedic information for anyone who's wanting to learn about mediumship and the development of mediumship and the different types of mediumship and the history and spirituality of mediumship, that's all in Moses and Jesus the Shamans, including the politically orientated biblical mistranslations condemning mediumship, when it was in fact an ancient tradition to consult seers and prophets and dream interpreters, judges and oracles, to learn spiritual wisdom and predictive guidance. And yet the Orthodox Church, with its mistranslations, led to the 16th and 17th century witch hunts, and thousands of innocents were killed. And even today, in the 21st century, some people are suspicious of mediumship, all because of those mistranslations. So if you look at Moses and Jesus the Shamans, it will clarify it for you. And Proof Animals Have Souls introduces the evidence for Jesus' vegetarianism since birth. The same for his brother, practically written out of history by the orthodoxy. And his name was James the Just, and he led Jesus' first followers after Jesus' crucifixion, leading them from Jerusalem, that he too was a vegetarian since birth, and because of his piousness, he was known as James the Just. Now I want to introduce our guest today as Sandy Ingham, www.sandyingham.co.uk. Sandy lives in Truro, Cornwall in the UK. It's right on the south coast. So I welcome Sandy to the show, and Sandy has explained to me that she spent 76 years as a medium working with spirit people and spirit animals, and one spirit in particular, namely Leo. Sandy has 2 books, Mediumship and Psychic Art of Sandy Ingham, Book 1, and Drawing on the Past, PASSED, Those Who've Passed Over, as her second book. Sandy's always been a medium, but overnight in her 60th year, she became a psychic artist too, with Leo guiding and using her arms and hands, overshadowing Sandy, so Sandy's consciousness takes a step back and observes. And Sandy, therefore, is a trance artist with no personal artistic abilities or training. And Sandy has shown me some fantastic drawings and paintings of Jesus, of Nefertiti, the Egyptian queen, and many, many more. So her website will be underneath the audio on my website, and also on the Passionate World Talk Radio website page for me, and the blog. And just to add, Leo is Leonardo Da Vinci. But coincidentally, there's no such thing as coincidence, as they say. I've been to Leonardo's house, which is a fantastic chateau in the Loire Valley in France. So welcome, Sandy, to the show.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, Jackie. Lovely to speak to you.
And you. So, where do we begin? How did you discover you're a medium, Sandy?
Well, I didn't actually. My life was one of mediumship. When I was born, Leo came with me. I actually knew him as Leon, or as I thought as a child, Leon, mispronouncing it, you see. So wherever I was, Leo was there. Everything I did, Leo was there. And that was just it. That's how I've grown up. I didn't know any other way. There is no other life than that, than my time speaking with spirit. And I don't call myself a clair anything, I'm not trained by the system. I've just always had spirit with me, from people to dogs to cats to visions of future events, even horses. I've had an amazing life of spirit, although difficult at times. But yes, I can't give you a date other than my birth date that I became a medium, because I have never known any other life.
Excellent. So from a young child, you could see, hear, sense Leo and other spirit people and animals.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Absolutely, yes.
And how did your parents feel about that? Were they aware of your abilities?
Oh yes, indeed. Mother was, I'm going to say she was afraid of me, afraid of what people would think, remembering, of course, my age. And back then, mediumship was a very different matter. Everyone thought we were evil. Everybody thought that it was bad to contact them, and yet I knew no other way. I just always did. And as a child, I had no sense whatever that other people couldn't see who I was talking to. So it was difficult in that respect, yes.
So they were as real to you as a physical person in front of you, and
definitely
you weren't aware at times that others didn't see them the same as you.
That's right.
Yeah.
I had no idea other people couldn't see them. It was my normal, you see.
Yes. We've got so many...
I didn't know other people weren't like me.
Yes. Well, as a child, you wouldn't. We have so many questions and things that we can discuss. I'm sure we will do several other shows with you, Sandy, as long as you're free and available to do that. But today, if we just do an introduction really to you and your work, and people will see your website on the blog and on underneath the audio on the shows. So how did your psychic art begin, please? Because it'll be great for people to click on your website and then see pictures of your psychic art as well as the audio of the interviews. So how did your psychic art begin?
Actually, quite literally, I would go into the lounge in the evening to watch my favourite soap. I would position myself in the corner of a large L-shaped suite, and I would take my mail with me so that I could deal with that whilst I watched my soap. Only the thing was, I would hear the music come up to the start of the show, and then a couple of minutes later it would come up again at the end of the show. And I had no recollection whatsoever of having watched the show. I even said to my husband, well, what did he just say? Where did she just go? And he had no idea that I wasn't in. I literally just stepped away with my conscious mind. And Leo then came in and used my hands to draw. And he does 2 people at a time. He'll draw 2 people, one with each hand at the same time.
So it makes you ambidextrous.
As can be evidenced on my website on film.
Excellent.
So lots of evidence of it there, yes.
That's excellent. An amazing gift you have. So how did you become acquainted with Leo, your artist guide? You said that he was with you from the beginning. So is he like a long-term, lifetime friend? How much do you know about his life? Has he shared information with you about...
Oh, lots.
And how does he do that with you? Is it telepathic?
I call it telepathy because that's how it is. Everybody understands what telepathy is. He literally speaks to me into my thoughts, into my mind, and I can question him and he will answer me. He will always tell me about what's happening in our world. He will tell me if I need to avoid somebody or something, which of course I always listen. But he wants people to understand that we do not die. We cannot die. And I can ask him anything. We've talked endlessly about his life and times. And he's a very, very interesting man. And the reason that we can draw 2 people at the same time is because Leo was left-handed and I am right-handed. So he's quite comfortable using both of them at the same time.
That's interesting.
And
yes.
It really is. And for several weeks, I was sat drawing little parts of faces, maybe a mouth or an eye or a nose or an ear. And they went then, these little bits of paper went then aside for the trash, and I didn't know I had done them until one day, needing to leave the room in the middle of what would have been the show. And whatever was in my hand, I put down on the coffee table and walked around it. And as I rounded it, something moved, and I thought I'd knocked something over. But when I looked down, I discovered that a pair of drawn human eyes were looking up at me. And it was the most shocking thing, because I have never been able to draw in my life, and I still can't. And when I asked Leo why he would choose me to do that when I can't draw, he said, that is why I chose you. Because if you could draw, you would override me. You would want to do what you think was right, and you would do this subconsciously. And of course, he's right.
Yes.
So as it is, I step back and I say, I'm all yours, Leo. I will step back and let him get on with it. And I've got very little knowledge of what's happening at all.
So do you feel like you lose consciousness, or do you feel like you're an observer in this altered state?
No, it's like I've gone to sleep. It's, that, like maybe you drop into a daydream and go somewhere else, and that's what I did.
Yes.
So I had no idea what he was doing until it was finished, and then, obviously whilst it was being done, and being done on stage and on screen, with a camera over my hands, when people came to collect them, they'd come and say, can I have my dad, please, or my husband, or my daughter, or my mother? And of course, they had to tell me which they were, because I had no recollection of doing them.
Uh-huh. Did he give you information on the pictures that you were drawing as well? Or would that come separately?
He talks to them on stage while we're drawing. He will write. He maybe write their name or a relevant date to them, or maybe the name of the person in the audience. I never know what he's doing until I'm done. But yes, he's interactive with the audience member whilst he's drawing in writing, you see.
Yes. Excellent. And you say you've worked on cruise ships as well, giving out information to people who are on holiday and giving them evidence of survival. So what is it that motivates you in your work? Is it to help the bereaved, especially in difficult times?
Yes, absolutely. There are so many people, so very tragic, so much in grief, so broken. And for me, the privilege, and it is a privilege, of being able to reunite them with their loved ones, and in a way that they can never deny, because they're so happy to prove over and over again. And I'll give you an example. A gentleman I was reading for, and at the end of the reading, and I was talking to his dad in spirit, or upstairs as I put it, and I said, okay, darling, we have to go now. Dad's off to take his gliding session. And of course the gentleman said, oh my goodness, every moment he got in life he would go out gliding. And well, I guess he's got open access now, so yes. And that was the end of that reading. So they tell me things that prove absolutely that I am talking to who I say I am.
You also mentioned before the show that you saw this beautiful horse when you were on one of these cruise ships. And
I did,
it was for somebody who just had a reading with a lady next door to you in a separate office.
That's right, in the office next to mine, and obviously the poor horse, and the sea was behind me. The whole office had a glass wall, so the sea was behind me, and to my left, this horse just walked beside me, just walked in through the wall, and headed for the door. So I went to open the door and look up and down the corridor and said, has somebody lost a horse?
Yeah.
and of course it was the secretary to the lady in the next office, and her last patient, she had lost a horse. Sorry, her last client had lost a horse, and she was hoping to hear from it.
Excellent.
So poor horse got the wrong office, but that's okay. the lady was located, and I spoke to her later.
Excellent. Well, do you know, the time has flown and we need to close the show, and I really do look forward to speaking with you again, and we can pick other themes to discuss, because there's so much we can discuss together. So thank you very much, Sandy, for coming to the show today.
You're very welcome.